Hi folks, Mike here, alone. Tam's not with me today. I am in Dawson Forest in Dawsonville, Georgia. And I'm here for a do-over video, basically. Back when I did the original video exploring Georgia's Area 51, Air Force Plant 67 in Dawson Forest, it was in the springtime. There was a lot of vegetation. You couldn't see the ruins very well. I promised I would come back in the fall or winter when the vegetation was more sparse. And that's why I'm here, to try to get some better views of these ruins. So if you don't mind trekking through this wildlife management area with me for a little while, we'll try to see what we can of the ruins of a former top secret government laboratory in the middle of this forest. So we're on a trail currently between sets of ruins associated with facilities, and where the trail has washed away, you begin to see pieces of cabling being unveiled underneath this trail. Behind me is the centerpiece of this top secret laboratory. This is the hot cell building where back in the 1960s and the 1970s was housed a 10,000 megawatt unshielded nuclear reactor. Now, in case you're tempted to believe that this facility is so old that the government has completely forgotten about it, well, let me just direct your attention to where there was a breach in the fence. Now, we come out here every now and then to hike or whatnot, and this was not here last time I was there. This is, someone has actually quickly and did a rough job pouring concrete to stop a breach in the fencing. You can see they keep it locked up, one of the only entrances where there's a break in this fence. Pretty good size lock. Now, it's so much easier to see this time of year when the vegetation is down, that inside this main perimeter fence there is another fence. You see the no trespassing sign on. You can't really see this fence in the spring or the summer, the one inside there, so covered with vegetation everything is. But you can see it now, standing guard around the hot cell building. And as I've said, wintertime provides a whole new perspective on this place, or a different perspective rather, because of the lack of vegetation. The vegetation within this perimeter fence is allowed to grow wild. It's never taken care of. And it kind of provides an extra layer of natural security, I guess. It at least makes it harder to see. In the spring and the summer, from this angle, you would barely be able to tell a building was there. Now, in the 1960s and through part of the 1970s, the United States Air Force, having designated this Air Force Plant 67, conducted research here into the possibility of nuclear-powered aircraft. The primary contractor was Lockheed. Lockheed knew this place as the Georgia Nuclear Aircraft Research Laboratory. Air Force Plant 67 might have been one of the worst kept secrets of the Cold War. After all, there was actual newsreel footage shot about the place. And Dawson Forest, even though it is big once you get in here, it's actually ringed by civilization all the way around. One of the few remaining doorways into the hot cell building in front of us, and it also appears as if some new fencing has been installed in front of it. So again, this research facility, where once there was a nuclear reactor conducting secret research, is still maintained. A level of security is still maintained along the perimeter. You can also kind of see around what probably were bay doors or large doors for moving heavy equipment in and out of. That concrete has been poured around these to make them tight. Indeed, supposedly this entire building was flooded with concrete after everything was removed. You see this building is pretty solid, and the walls, from what I've read, were a few feet thick. As the story goes, it didn't take the scientists very long to determine that the problem with nuclear-powered aircraft then is pretty much the same as the problem is now. And that is, how do you shield the crew from the effects of radiation from a reactor without making your aircraft so heavy that it couldn't get airborne? And so, in the 70s, this facility turned to the research of the effects of radiation on various things, from military gear, supposedly all the way to forest animals. It is known that these facilities did go fairly far underground. In fact, when the facility was dismantled, it is said that the walls beneath the ground were breached so that the Etowah River flowed in and flooded, in addition to the concrete that was added. Yes, and this is what you will find all around this place. You will find inexplicable holes leading down deeper than anybody really wants to go. Now, until at least recently, the government was sending folks out here to monitor the radiation levels in the building. They would come out every few weeks, every few months, and then probably got to every few years to check, and the levels were so low that at some point it became negligible. So more than likely, all this security is not as much for the fact that this was a secret laboratory. After all, the government stripped it bare when the research was over. They flooded it and then poured the rest with concrete. There's nothing in there to see. More than likely, all this protection is for our protection, to keep somebody from getting hurt that were to try to get inside this building. So I appreciate that, but there's still that level of wondering. So folks, I promised to bring you back out here when the leaves were all gone off the trees, and I did, and there is a much better view of this facility without all the foliage around this time of year. And it adds to the eeriness a little bit, all the dead and dying vegetation. Now, if you want to come out here, you can. This is a wildlife management area. It's open to the public. And from sun up till sundown, the gates are unlocked. You can come and see this facility. This is right near the front part of the forest. So your hike in is not going to be all that far, and besides, there's some wonderful wetlands to see here too. So until the next time, this is Mike coming to you from Georgia's Area 51 in Dawson Forest. Interestingly enough, as I was wrapping up my video, I encountered two parties out here near this facility. One was an older couple who live in the area that spend a lot of time out here. The older gentleman told me that it was one of his dreams to get inside this fence. He actually bought a Geiger counter and has tried to measure radiation around here. He hasn't picked up any traces, but he is convinced that the reason this fence is here isn't just because of sharp objects. He's convinced that there's still some residual radiation inside, that's why the security stays so tight, that it's not just about concrete, that it's about dust particles that may be irradiated, that people may breathe in. That's why they're keeping us out. And then I encountered an officer, a police officer, who was asking, very interested in what I was doing down here. He obviously thought that with the camera and with me being so close, I was trying to get inside. Apparently they have had problems with people trying to break inside of here and get video and get photographs, probably for YouTube. he made it a point to let me know that the last people that broke into this place went to jail. So the security is still tight here. They're still concerned about people getting in. And apparently some locals still think there's something going on out here. Just to wrap this up, so this is Mike saying bye.